Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality, back with you here today to go over some left-wing stupidity that I saw. I haven't read this article yet, but I just thought this was a really interesting thing for someone to say, so I figured, hey, let's talk about it. So this article is from townhall.com, dated April 3rd, and the O'Donnell in question here is this man, Lawrence O'Donnell. He's on MSNBC, which may explain his extremely stupid take here. It says, O'Donnell, GOP expects police to have the courage to run towards gunfire. Well, yes, because that's their job. If there's a shooting going on, it shouldn't be GOP, it should be everybody expects police to have the courage to run towards gunfire. It's their job. Maybe you should look up what police are supposed to do. So the discrepancy here is, of course, the Nashville shooting happened like last week from when you're listening to this video, and of course that's been contrasted with the Uvalde shooting where the cops didn't do anything. If you look up the Nashville body cam footage, those cops just went right in there and took the shooter down like it was nothing. Okay, and Uvalde, again, those cops just kind of stood around and did nothing and let the shooter kill a bunch of kids. So obviously completely different situations in the way the police responded to it. So let's get into the article here. It says, MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell chastised Republicans for expecting police officers to respond to active shooters similar to how members of the Metro Nashville Police Department responded during the shooting at a private Christian school. The attack was stopped after police killed the assailant, who identified as transgender, within 14 minutes of the first 911 call. 3 children and 3 adults were killed before police were able to stop the shooter. This mass shooting world did not exist before Columbine. You know, Columbine happened, then a few years later Aurora happened, then a few years later another tragedy happened, Virginia Tech happened. Suddenly, though, it's like after Sandy Hook, it is a constant in our lives, and yet faced with this gun epidemic, you actually have the governor of Tennessee claiming he wants to protect schools, but this is the same governor that signed laws allowing permitless carry and open carry, host Joe Scarborough said. Yes, Joe, you who is also not a very smart person, because how you defeat this is more guns. It is not take the guns away from all the law-abiding people, okay? Because even though the Nashville shooter got their guns legally, from what I saw, there's not a law on the book that would have stopped this person from getting their guns, okay? So all you would have been doing was punishing all the people who did nothing wrong because of one person who did something wrong. Anywho, so Lawrence O'Donnell says, the Republican policy at this point is to say our defensive kids our defensive kids in school is the hope that the very first officers who get the call about the mass murder in a school be as heroic as the 2 we just saw run into that school without shields. Well, at least he's calling those officers heroic, because what they did is absolutely heroic. Any officer that did that to any shooter would be considered heroic, and rightfully so. Continuing on, says they didn't wait for those shields that the guys in Texas waited for. They didn't wait for anything. They ran straight to the sound of the gun, straight to the sound of the shooter, and they took out the shooter. And so they took out the shooter after the shooter killed 6 people, O'Donnell replied. So the Republican policy, in effect, is we're going to try to get the cops there as fast as possible so that they can keep the body count down as low as possible if the police officers have the superhuman courage to run straight to the sound of the gunfire, which we know not all police officers do, he continued. They're supposed to, Lawrence. Again, do you not know what the job of police is in this situation? Hell, I've never studied policing or criminal justice, and I know that. Okay, and any cop will be like, yes, if there is someone shooting, we're supposed to go and stop that person. Anyway, he continues, and so it is, it is just beyond horrifying that's where we've left it. And, you don't have to be that old to have lived in a different world. No, that'd be me too. And this is basically the end of the article. The last sentence here says, Republicans in Congress have called for more funding for armed school security, not just having officers respond quicker. Yeah, that's correct. There should be armed security. I mean, I saw there was a comment from good old Peter Strzok, from the Russiagate conspiracy that said he didn't want, he was trying to map out, the amount of money it would take to have armed officers in school, and he was like, we can't do that. It was like, dude, we've sent, like, it was something like, oh god, what was it, like $10 billion annually? I mean, keep in mind, $10 billion annually for your kids to remain safe, and he just couldn't fathom that. But like, how much have we sent to Ukraine? Like, isn't it in the 9 digits amount of money? Or not 9 digits, probably in the, like, what is it, 12 digits amount of money. Like, we're in the hundreds of billions at this point, aren't we? Or some obscene amount of money. And we can just kind of, at the drop of a hat, go, here, you guys can have this. So why can't we have our kids be protected in schools? This isn't like a difficult ask. And all these folks that are pro-gun control just want to take guns out of the hands of the law-abiding citizens. So if you're someone listening to this and you own guns legally, of course, do not give them up ever for any reason. You never know when you're going to need it, okay? And when something like this comes up, obviously let the police do their job. But for someone on any network, anybody ought to be like, well, you know, Republicans are saying these officers shouldn't be expected to run towards gunfire. Yes, they should. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. Okay, that's what they're trained to do. Okay, because you're too big of a pussy to go do it yourself. Okay, because you haven't been trained to do it or can't even fathom that. You know, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would. I mean, we've seen good guys with guns take out shooters before at places. There was that one church massacre in Texas years ago, and the guy who took out that shooter was a good guy with a gun. Those guys go right towards it too because they've been trained. Okay, and maybe not in policing, but how to use a gun, I should say. But these guys are heroes as well. Lawrence O'Donnell, you're an idiot. You should be called an idiot. You should be pointed and laughed at and shamed for this comment. It's stupid because you just can't see the other side of the story. It's just, you see guns, you go, it's bad, and that's as far as it gets. There's no further thought into this. Anyway, you guys can probably hear I'm a little teed off about this, but in any case, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm going to leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to you soon. Bye.